Alright, so let me tone this down a little bit. This is gonna be a video showing you how to do your lighting and post-processing for Unity, and I'm also gonna show you how to go around a little error that I get sometimes and maybe you get. So let's say that I open up Unity Hub and I go to open the project that I just made. Yep, that's it. And I'm like open, and it's gonna load, and it's gonna give me this message. Wait for it. Right, and I get this message. So this message essentially just keeps repeating itself, and I can't get it working. So what I need to do is I need to click quit. I need to open up the project that I've made, and excuse my messy desktop additionally. I need to go to the project that I've made, and I need to go to library, and I need to delete current layout. So current layout default, delete that. Then I need to go to my Windows and type in %app data %, and that's going to open up this new window, and I just need to scroll down until I find Unity, and I want to delete that as well. Now I can close both of those, and I can open up Unity Hub again, or just the Unity project itself, however you open it, and open that project once more, and now it should load properly. When it loads, I'm going to show you just the default Unity scene, and I'm going to remove all its lighting information, and I'm going to show you how to create your own. Okay, alright, so this is the default Unity scene. Let me see, what do we have here? So when we go close, you can see that we have the scenes, we have these like big objects here that we don't know what they are, and we have our camera. We also have this light up here, and if you look on the side in the hierarchy, we have obviously the main camera, the directional light, which is the sun essentially. We have a post-process volume, which is loading up at the moment. Give it a second. We have a post-process volume, which is currently global, I think. Usually it's a little box that you can see, but this one seems to be global. And we also have some assets here. And in the assets, I think we also have these 3 reflection probes, and we also have a light probe group, right? So, do we need all of these things? We need some of them. We won't be using the light probe group, not yet, not properly. And we won't be using many reflection probes, but we'll still get to them. But for now, I don't want you to worry about this complex stuff. All I need you to kind of notice is the camera, the directional light, and the post-process volume. So let me delete all 3 of these, or at least make them invisible, and they're going to disappear. And you'll have a directional light by default, but I'm just going to throw one in that doesn't have any of the settings that this one has. Right, so this is the scene by default, nothing in there, just these props. So pretending that this is your scene once you've just loaded it up. I think there's a light in here as well actually, so I'm going to hide this one as well. Okay. Give it a tick. I'm working on a laptop. Make sure I'm not muted. I'm not muted. Very good. Okay, I think that's everything. I think we should be good now. Okay, so let's say you've put all your assets in the scene. What do we do first? Well, first thing you can do is you can create a directional light, which is essentially a sun. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to you're going to have one by default. You're going to have a directional light by default. But if you wanted to make one, you can go right click, light, directional light. You can create one, and that's going to be the sun that is used by the engine. Now notice that it's not following this one. That's because if we add a new directional light, we need to go in our lighting settings and actually choose which one we're going to use. Now I'm going to do that now. I'm going to go Window, Rendering, Lighting, and that's gonna open this big complicated lighting setting. I'm just gonna pull this and drag it next to the inspector so I can switch between them. And I'm gonna click environment, and here you have directional light, right? So if I change that to this one, now the sun is over here. So if you want to just change the direction of the sun, all you need to do is choose which directional light your environment is going to use. Now we'll get to the rest of this stuff later on, but we're going to cover the very basics in the beginning so that essentially you guys can light your scenes as easily or as complex as you wish. So now that we've settled some basic stuff, let's just get started. So we have our scene, we have the directional light, which you guys probably started with. And when you rotate this directional light, it changes the actual direction of the sun. Now, depending on your level, maybe you're looking at it, well, this one, for example, actually has many, it's out in the open, right? You can see that there's a sun. For some of yours, you might not want the sun to be very strong, or maybe not even present, because it's indoors or something like that. But if you have windows and stuff, you can make it come through. Now you can click your directional light, and it has a bunch of options here. So the type is just the type of light that it is, and currently it's directional. You can change the color of the lighting. That doesn't mean you need to go neon, right? But if you state something to like a bright yellow, you can kind of make it a slightly darker yellow. You could pull it a little towards green if you're, if you want to make it a little as if there's like trees outside. If you make it bluish, it's going to be quite cold. It's going to be very cold colors. You don't want to go very chromatic. You don't want to go very saturated, because then it looks like you're in an ice cave or something. You want it to be closer to the grays, but you can still add a little bit of color in there, just to give it a little bit of a hint of what's going on. So notice the blue, the yellow. So there is a very drastic change, even though when it's on its own, you don't really notice anything. And if you go purple, it just looks a bit crazy. Let's go to blue actually. Let me light this slightly colder colors. Let's make this a slightly colder scene. Other things in the directional light is obviously intensity and indirect multiplier, which I'm not going to pretend I know what it is. You can mouse over it and it's going to tell you. You can change the mode to real-time, mixed or baked. I'm going to leave it at real-time for now. Let me just check what they made there. Oh, they made theirs mixed, because they had things standing still and stuff moving, but we're going to keep ours to real time. Soft shadows, if you do hard shadows, it can kind of glitch out a bit and make them like really jagged. So soft shadows are usually better. And you have a bunch of other stuff like strength of the shadows, which you could probably play with if you're on an indoor scene. If you're in an indoor scene and you don't want the sun to actually give any shadows, you can actually turn this all the way down. And you can create shadows using other lights that you put around the scene. In fact, maybe I'll do something like that and I'll put my own lights on afterwards. Actually, yeah, if this is indoors and we're getting rid of the shadows from the sun, we probably want the intensity to be a little bit lower, and we're gonna light it ourselves using other lights, right? So that's the main directional light done, which is like down here for some reason. Let me like move it back up. And I think you can actually also rotate. If you click global here, it switches between local and global. So when it's local, you can actually change like the actual direction of the sun. You can make it so it's nighttime and stuff. So there's a lot of things you can do. I'm going to leave it at... I'm actually going to put it at nighttime. And it still affects stuff, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like this. Directly from the top. Okay, I'm going to stop playing with it. I'm going to stop playing with it because I'm going to add more lights afterwards. Okay, so we did our directional light. And we put it in our lighting settings. Is there anything else we can do in the lighting settings? Well, if we go to environment, we can change the shadow color for real-time shadows. We don't have any shadows yet. And we can add fog, and we can change like the density of the fog. So this isn't useful for you guys now, but in future when you have big environments, you can actually do some very interesting effects with this and create some pretty cool like atmosphere. For now though, like this level is very small and the things we're doing don't really require fog at all. I'll still keep it on, but I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'll just keep it like very low. Yeah, leave it at 0.1. No, 0.01. You know what? Let's just get rid of fog. We're in a room. It's not foggy in the room. Now, what do we have next? Something you can change as well is environment lighting. You can make it so that in the game view, ooh, oh, let's put our main camera back. Sorry, I hid the main camera. You want to keep your main camera. You don't want to hide it. So in the game view, so you have scene and game, you can go here to your lighting environment and you can change the environment lighting to skybox or color. And if you change it to color, you're actually lighting the scene based on a color that you pick. And you can use a gradient as well. I'll leave it at skybox so that the sky actually affects the thing. But if you're making an indoor room, you could actually go to color and just make it black. And then everything's going to be just affected by the color of the light rather than the environment. But rarely is it actually completely black, so you could always like add a bit of a tint that's more towards the color of your room. So I'm going to add a slight blue because of the way the blue of this wall is probably going to come off and hit the assets. Reflections, other stuff, light maps we don't need to worry about. In the scene, is there anything we need to worry about? Not that I can think of. No. Okay, so let's leave that lighting panel for now, and let's just add a few more lights. So I'm gonna add, kind of like before, there was a spotlight here. So I'm gonna create a light spotlight. And there's my computer thinking. And it's going to put it in the middle of nowhere, so I'm just going to click the transform, click 0, tab, 0, tab, 0. And it's going to be back in the center of the world. Bring this up. My computer is going to be so upset. Let's bring this down here somewhere. Like that. There we go. Now we're getting something like this. And you can change a lot of the settings, so I'm going to change the range to be this far again, but I'm also going to change the, where is it? I want to change the, there we go. Do something like that. And now we have like this interesting light. And again, we can change the color, we can change everything. So like this is not a sunlight, and it's not a house light. It's one of these bright like blue lights, but I almost want to make it like really white, because like that's what those lights are like. Maybe they do have a little yellow, maybe not. I'm just gonna keep it like that for now. So you can create a light. You can create dramatic lights like this. You can create. Let's add another. Let's add another. Let's actually grab this and duplicate it with Control D. Move it here. Move it up and down. Let's just do this. 0, 0, 0. Then move it all the way down like that. And let's get this inner radius. Yeah, and you can do stuff like this, so it's lighting the whole space. We want it to cast shadows. Intensity, you can make it pretty bright if it's a bright room. It's real time, and real time indirect bounce shadows is not supported. But point lights. Okay. Also, that's kind of destroying the lights the shadows we had here. So maybe we want to. What happens if we reduce the intensity? Not much. So why can't we see those anymore then? Because this one was fine. Spotlight 1. So why does this one not work anymore? Real time indirect bounce shadowing. There's no support. Okay, so let's change it from real time to baked, right? And then let's grab this one and change it to baked as well, and you see what that means. So real time means when there's something around, it's going to, when something moves around, it's going to actually be affected by the light. Baked means you have to actually calculate where the light's going to go, and you can do that in your lighting settings. You just need to turn off auto generate in your generate lighting thing, and that's going to make the game a little faster as well. But then you want to click generate lighting, and it's going to do it. For me, it's going to do it a little quick because I only have like a couple of lights. I say that, but I am working on a computer that has no graphics card, so this might take a little longer. But you can notice now it's started to actually calculate how the lights look and what they're doing. And the only reason I'm using this bake lighting stuff is because the point lights don't, the point lights and the spotlights don't work with real time. The directional light does, but these don't. Let's add another light in here, just another one to show you how you can use it. Let's go light. Yeah, I finished generating the lighting. Let's go light and let's make a... There's other kinds as well. I won't talk about them yet, but let's make a point light, which is just this little kind of circular one. So it's not like a... And let's put it up here. It's very shiny, this one, isn't it? So I want to light the things that are here, but obviously there's no light above them. There's no lamp. There's nothing that would actually make them light up like this. And I don't want them to be too bright. I just want them to be a little more visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the intensity quite a lot and just leave it about this much. I'm going to make some kind of more noticeable color, like yeah, that beigey is quite nice, and change the range to be only about here. And what we have now is you know, a slight, and we don't want shadows, right? So now we have something that works a bit better, and we want to put it at baked, and we want to bake our lighting again. And hopefully this is going to light up nicely after this finishes. And that's the main thing about lights. You can just put them around and try and create, you know, special effects, directional effects, natural, you know, things that come from a light, or just little fake indications of areas that you want to be a little brighter so they can be seen better. There's other things you can do, like 3-point lighting systems, which are really basic. They're just literally 3 lights around your object, which make them, ooh, look at this, let's fix that in a second. 3 lights around your object, which make, give an interesting look as well, whereas here I've just tried to kind of go for a natural one. Now we have some errors here, don't we? So something else we need to create is, let's make an empty here. Let's make a create empty, and this is essentially like a group, and we can name it group lights. Let's call it lights, right? And take all of these and drag them in. And just put a P at the end of there. And now let's create one called group effects. And now let's go to light again. And this time we want to create a reflection probe, right? And a reflection probe, bring it back to the 0 space. A reflection probe is like this little box shape, which essentially captures the reflections that would be in a space. Now let me change the box size so that it kind of fits where it's supposed to. So this is going to be like around here. Actually, let's do this. First you want a reflection probe that essentially covers your whole scene. And then you want another reflection probe that covers smaller areas of the scene. And it's a bit tricky to see where the volume actually is sometimes. You're not alone in that. Let's do this. Make sure it goes a little bit over. And I'm just going to make one more for the side. Just rotate it. Nope. This far and this far. Alright, so we've created 3 little reflection probes, and what these essentially do, they look at the scene inside the area, and when things want to reflect color or a light, they actually reflect what these capture. So it's a little complicated, but essentially they help the scene have nicer reflections. And something else we can add, which you'll see they already had here, this light probe group. So a light probe group is essentially more information that you put in the scene for your objects to kind of know what kind of lighting they should have. Now, because all of us are kind of using this base scene, for now, I would recommend just using their light probe group. I'll probably take it out and put it in the FX group. And I'll put these in here as well. And I'll just use their light probe group because I don't want to mess with, I don't want to make them at the moment. We're already making a room, they're already in the room shape. We could just probably use those. Let me just hide the rest of those. And I could probably bake my lighting again, and hopefully we'll have less errors going around. This is looking a bit dark, but that's because I think we need to rebake again. I think that's why it looks a bit dark. I'll rebake one last time, and then we're gonna jump into post-process volumes. Oof, I kind of want to change the color of the top lamp now, but I'll just leave it for the moment. And it's almost done. Okay, so we have our lighting, there's fewer errors. It's an indoor scene. If you have natural lights, if you have lights, lamps, and candles, or whatever it is you have, you can place them around. If you want to just emphasize certain areas, you can put little fake lights like this, and it's going to just make them stand out a little better. Okay, so moving on. This is everything to do with actually creating lights in the scene. But let's say we want to add some special effects so that we can see everything a little better. Now, if I click my main camera, I want to scroll down until I see... Actually, this is a... Wait, I'm in the lighting menu, that's why. Ooh, we have ambient occlusion here. We're going to play with that in a second. Okay, back to the inspector. Click my main camera, and I want to make sure that I have post-processing ticked. And also, if you know a little bit about film or photography, you can probably create a physical camera that's actually going to have like focal length and other stuff that give you a much more kind of like cinematic shot. So you could use one of those if you wish, but it's not essential. And I'm not marking you for or against it. I'm just saying, you know, these are things you can do. If you want to get like a more dramatic screenshot, you can like change the focal length and the field of view and stuff like that. But it's not about making it dramatic. It's about making it look good. And if good to you means dramatic, then you can kind of convey that in your scene however you wish. Oops, click 2D by accident. Okay, so let's do a few effect things, right? So first we want to right click here, and we want to create I need to find where it is now, volume, global volume, right? So this is a global volume, and this is essentially going to be a post-process volume. And here it's asking for a profile. Just click that little circle and click sample scene profile if you're in the actual scene, in this default scene that you've just deleted stuff and added to. If you don't have anything that you can pick, then you can create a new one by right-clicking somewhere in your assets, and you can create, and I believe it's Universal Render Pipeline, Forward Renderer, I want to say. Let me just check if there's something else somewhere that I can use in case it's not that. I believe it's Forward Renderer. Lighting settings. Let's give that a go. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And we'll just use the default. Forward Render. Add render feature. Okay, let's click our global volume and... Okay, it's not a forward renderer. What was it? I'll just try one more time to remember what it was. I'm sure you can find it if you just search it, but I'm just want to try and show you here so you don't have to search excessively. You'll find it pretty fast, I'm sure. It escapes me. It is difficult for me to remember. Pipeline asset forward to the render feature, post-process data, post-process data? I don't think so. But let's check. Global volume. No. Okay, so I won't try and guess. Very easy to give it a search. But anyway, if you're using this default scene, you can go make a global volume. So create volume, global volume, add the post-process data, and then you can essentially add effects to the scene. So I'm going to, can I remove these? Yeah, I'm going to remove all the ones that they put in by default, and I'm going to add some myself. So I can add an override, post-processing, and then I can choose all this different stuff, right? So we can choose right at the bottom white balance, and with this we can change the temperature of the scene, so we can make it a warmer scene or a colder scene. I'm actually going to turn it further towards warm now, which is interesting because the light I chose is much colder. It's actually bluer, but I'm kind of mixing the two and creating like a slightly warmer scene, and it kind of balances between that and this to make it not too warm. You can also add a tint if you want to go further towards one look or the other. If you're going for specific moods, I'm not worried about that yet, so I'm going to leave that off by unticking it. I'm going to add another override here for bloom, and bloom essentially makes glow more, and it doesn't just make glow, it makes anything that's light glow. So if you want a really dreamy look, or if you have something magical, or whatever the reason, you can essentially create bloom and increase the intensity. And you can actually play with the intensity and the threshold to make it so that it actually stands out very little. You can see it's just a little bit brighter, brightens up the scene. The shine on the helmet is like a little bit more glowy, right? So that's what bloom does. And then we can go back here and add an override. You can do color adjustments, chromatic aberration. We don't need too many of these fancy stuff because we're pretty much just doing a room. But I think something you could probably benefit from is shadows, midtones, highlights. And that's a kind of, it change, well, you can play with and change how the different parts of color in your scene work. But you know what, actually, let me scratch that. Don't use that yet. That's more complex and requires a bit more attention. We can definitely use vignette, and a vignette is essentially darkening around the edges. Now you don't want it to be strong. You want it to be almost unnoticeable, right? So let me bring it up this much and change the smoothness. And bring the intensity up a little more. Oh, you can do something like this. That's interesting. What if we max the smoothness and just bring it really far back? You can tell it just darkens the edges a little bit, makes it a little bit more dramatic. But you can change the color as well if you don't want it to be like completely like that. So you can create a slight color mood around the borders. Right, so we're coloring the borders a little bit to create a slight mood. Let me change the, yeah, just slightly. And let me see if there. I want to add one more thing, and I just need to make sure I remember what it was. It's not color adjustments, I don't think, is it? Yes, it's color adjustments. Good. So you here in color adjustment, you can add post exposure, which kind of changes how bright or dark the level becomes. I usually don't mess with this because I try to get the actual lighting good beforehand, but you might want to just brighten it up a little if it's too dark, or darken it a little if it's too bright. I'm not going to use that right now. I will use contrast, however, and you can combine contrast with post exposure. So contrast is going to like really make something more dramatic, but if you want to kind of balance that, you can balance it with post exposure. And then you have something that has a lot more pop. So let me just turn that on and off so you can see, like gray, pop. Oof, we're getting something weird here, guys. We're getting something weird. It wasn't like that a second ago. Maybe I've just maxed it too much and I didn't notice. Maybe I did. Let's leave that there then. Regardless, you can get a bit of pop, you can get a bit of bright. Too bright in the background. Let's lower that contrast and see what the opposite is. The opposite, you can lower that. You can then lower the scene so it's darker. That's too far. You want to lower it just a little bit. So -18. And you can then like play with this a little. I'm doing it by eye. I'm not trying to hit any specific formula. I'm just doing it by eye. So now it's like a slightly grayer scene, almost Team Fortressy, where it's like kind of, it doesn't pop as much if you don't want it to. You can kind of like Team Fortress on very low graphic settings, which is how I played it. Color filters, don't know what these do. Ah, this is what these do. We're not going to use those. And hue shift, I don't know why you would use this. Saturation, literally how saturated the scene is. So now we have this very bright storybook Pixar-y look, or we can bring it much further back and then mess with the contrast a bit more and the exposure to create something more like dark and grim and kind of post-apocalyptic, right? So there's a bunch of stuff you can do. Now you're not doing anything particularly dramatic, I imagine, because we're not really going for super dramatic at the moment, but whatever you choose to do, you know, you don't have to go super crazy with your post-process. This is like quite a subtle effect where messing with the exposure a little, but also creating much brighter colors. So I'm almost like reducing the intensity, but increasing the chromatic, the chroma, the saturation, the color. So bring it down on one end and bring it up on the other end. And if you turn the volume on and off, you can tell there's an obvious difference in absolutely everything. And again, you know, we can see the background of the sky here, which we probably won't in your scenes because you have walls. So let me actually hide. Can I? Okay, let's duplicate this guy and rotate him and bring him in here. Actually, -90. There we go. And bring it back. Let's take this thing and move it forward. Why is it just... Oh man, why would you do that? Oh, they're all separate? Really? This is like really not efficiently put together, I have to say. Let me move this reflection probe. I don't want to move it because it's like... Let me just scale it down then so we don't see it. Okay, so we want to grab this, and light. We grab the light, right? No. What else did I grab then? I didn't grab the light. There we go. We'll just move this here. Point it in this. Oh, I grabbed the reflection capture actor. Reflection probe. Don't want to reflection probe. Son of a gun. Don't want to. I'm sorry, guys. This is like fiddly. I don't like how they've. I'm just gonna leave it. I was gonna put the light there so we can see the scene without all that guff. But essentially, let me grab this. Let me change this to like something yellower. And then let's just bake the lighting again. And I'm thinking now if there's anything else I want to show you. So we did lights, we did reflection capture actors, we did the what do you call it, the post-processing volume. So I think I'm gonna show you one more thing about post-processing volumes, and then I'm gonna show you how you can change your skybox to something different, and then we're gonna be done. I'm gonna leave you. I hope this has given you some tools to make your lighting more interesting. I'm going to grab this volume and put it in the effects, and you can tell how, you know, the volume will make a drastic change to how the scene looks. There we go. So now with the yellow light and the enclosing of the space, like this is really pleasant. Like it looks much nicer. If I had a roof or something, oh, it'd be really nice. We have this nice warm space now. Let me disable the global volume so you see the difference. It's like, it's subtle, isn't it? But it's subtle enough for it to matter. And if we didn't see that very typical Unity sky and the very typical like blue highlights there, it looks a lot different and it looks a little nicer, I think. And here's the light bashing itself against the wall. Okay, so last thing I want to show you about post-processing volumes. Obviously we created a global volume, but you can also, let me just minimize everything. You can also, ooh, the sample scene is like a whole thing. You can also go to volume and box volume, or sphere, or the other one. And this is the exact same thing, except it only affects a small area in which the player is present. So let's say we put this somewhere here, and let's say that, what's our global volume using? Our global volume is using this. So I'm going to duplicate, what is this, volume profile. Can I create another volume profile? Maybe not, maybe not, maybe not. We don't have volume profile here. Volume profile, there we go. And we'll call this box test profile. And your box volume, add the box test profile, right? So this is separate from the other one, so we can add different effects. And I'm gonna add like just something really obvious so you can see the difference. Let's do a color adjustment and do like really dark. And now when we go in here, you can see that everything changes. Whilst you're inside the volume, the box volume, it has a different set of things going on. So you can actually like essentially the player can change between which one they're going into. Now let me change the blend distance to 0. You can see it's a direct change. And if I increase the blend distance more, it takes longer for you to kind of blend between the two volume, the global one and the box one. So if you're making scenes in a house, rooms in a house, excuse me, if you're making like different areas in a level, whatever it is you do in the future, like these volumes can be a really nice asset to let you essentially do different kinds of effects, and they can be very useful. And the last thing is, let's change the sky. So let's go to our lighting scene again. Let's go to environment and click skybox material. And there's a default skybox here. I'm just gonna create another one. So create material, right? Select the new material that I just made. So right click, create material, select the material, change it, click the shader and change it to skybox procedural, and that's going to create a new skybox. And then we just need to go to our lighting environment and drag that new skybox, which I'm going to call custom skybox. Oh wait, that one's already called custom skybox. Okay, let's call it new custom skybox. Oh, it's already taken it up. That's weird. That's funny. I thought it was gonna, because these are the other ones. Oh, okay, so it's already taking it on for some reason. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll just leave it at new custom skybox. And we've put it here so the skybox material is now using it. Why did we do that? Because if we go back to our inspector and we choose our new custom skybox, we can now change a lot of the settings about how the scene appears in here. So we can change the sun size, which I don't know why people do, but you can. You can change the atmosphere thickness, so that's like how strong the background is in thickness. So you can make it like the moon, Jupiter, or just Earth. I usually don't really mess with that, but you can change the ground color and the sky color. So the sky color you can affect, and the ground as well. I usually make the ground pretty dark, unless I want to see some of it, because actually this material you're not really supposed to be able to see. It's just there. And we have exposure as well, which I don't believe affects the scene. It's affecting it now because of the bloom we have, so it's literally making the scene glow. It's kind of like you're the surface of the sun or something. But usually you can kind of make the whole scene dark if you wish, if you don't want anything to be seen, or if you want, just a little bit of something. To say also, if you don't want this kind of skybox and you just want a solid color, you can, let's look at the game, you can actually go to color, no, not this one, where was it? Right, environment reflections, no. I do not remember where it was, but there is a setting for you to change how in the viewport you see the background. Perhaps it's in the camera. If we click main camera, go to inspector, and we have background type, skybox. You can do a solid color, and you can just give it like some kind of like funky color. So like kind of giving it this blueprint is kind of funny. Or you can go more like portfolio gray, where you put some kind of gray color to kind of support your portfolio professionalism look. Let's do something like I usually do for like a mid. This is quite bright colors though, so I don't want to like. It's not like you can do a solid color as well if you wish. Alright, very last thing, and let's see if it works. We go to lighting, scene, and we want to find ambient occlusion. And ambient occlusion creates essentially shadowing around your assets. And I can't seem to get it working. So I'll leave it for now. That will be for next time. Okay guys, that's what I wanted to show you about lighting your scene in Unity. I hope that was useful. As I said to some of you already, but not all of you, just render a screenshot from Unity using you know, just screenshot or snipping tool. Or actually, let me show you right now what you can do after I just fix this. I want this to rotate like this, and then I want it to rotate down. Then I'll change it to global, so I'm just rotating it, but moving it in a weird direction. I have this. So how do you take a screenshot? Well, you want to take your game out, and you want to click maximize on play. Actually, let me leave the game there. You just want to click maximize on play, right? And then let's click play, and it's going to maximize it, and you see the camera that you have. And then what you can do is you can go Windows G on your keyboard, so the Windows key and G, and then you can just click take screenshot. It's going to take a little screenshot. If you want, you can go into your scene view, and you can kind of pull this out, maximize it, turn off the gizmos by clicking them, and then make a shot yourself much more easily. And then again, I've selected the camera, let me unclick. Then you can go Windows G again, and you can just take another screenshot. Where's the screenshot button gone? Where does it go? Capture? Yeah, there we go. Screenshot. And then Windows G again to hide that. Then you can just pull your scene back in, or like change its size, and stick it back in here, and turn your gizmos back on. Right, so that's what I would do if you want to take screenshots. You can take videos as well, but I prefer if you just took screenshots for now. Give me several screenshots of your scene. Hope that helps. And yeah, I think that's everything. I'm gonna upload this straight away now. And actually, let me just show you where screenshots are saved. Again, excuse my files, it's near Hamden and it's crazy. I think it's in videos, captures. And here's where things from that Windows G get saved, and here are my screenshots. Okay, awesome. Oh, well, that was nice. I crashed straight away. I was literally just about to say, if you want to not see the grid if you're taking screenshots from your scene view, click this little grid button and it's gonna disappear. Interesting how I crashed just there, right at the end of the video. I guess that's a good thing. Alright guys, thanks a lot for listening. I hope that helped. Good luck with your hand-ins. Message me if anything explodes. Bear in mind I'm quite busy myself. I have a hand-in as well. So, have a good one. Good luck. See you next time.